There is a problem I keep having with this winch. Even with my cover on, there is a fuse in here that corrodes, causing it to stop working. This tiny little fuse goes in here. And normally it's corroded and it causes it to stop working. It doesn't look that bad, so I'm not sure if that's the problem. The ends are a little corroded. I'm gonna bypass it and see if that does anything. Still nothing. What in the world? I just realized when I tried to test it the second time, I didn't even have it plugged in. Let's try this again. Okay, now that I'm past my stupidity, I cleaned up the ends with a wire brush. Let's see. Oh, really? I know there's power going to it, because I just shocked myself on the power wire. So it is some sort of connection issue, because if I use this wire and bypass that link and touch it straight to the hot wire, I don't know if it'll work now, because I don't have 3 hands to hold it. But if I hold this onto the hot wire, then hit the button, it works. So it is some stupid connection issue. It is the next morning. So after I was looking over the winch, I ran into town and I got some parts to replace it with. I'll show you. I figured out what it was doing. So in the fuse holder that comes with the winch, there's this little spring in here. I don't know if it'll focus, but the spring has failed. So when this is connected, it's not pushing against the fuse very well. It's not letting the electricity go through, the current, the shakalaka, dirly, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to replace that with this. Just takes many fuses. It's supposed to be weather resistant. It shouldn't corrode. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to disconnect the battery so I don't shock myself, because I'm really good at doing that. I'm always hurting myself. I'm always shocking myself. Just how it is with me. In the earlier clip from when I was testing it and it wasn't plugged in, I'm just leaving that in because I'm a human and I make mistakes. A lot of other people would cut that stuff out, but I'm not going to, because I have nothing to hide. Yeah, I could be dumb sometimes. It's just how we are as humans. So I have disconnected the battery. Now I'm going to remove this, which happens to be a 5mm hex, and there is a bolt underneath it, which is either, you could use a 13mm or a 1/2-inch wrench. Make sure that you disconnect the battery, because when you have wrenches down in here right next to the positive and the negative wire, you will shock yourself. Sucker was on tight. Put that one side out. I dropped the nut. I didn't even know I dropped it. I didn't even hear me drop it. That's what you get when you work on gravel. Everything gets lost in the gravel. So let me see if I can find that. So when I'm gonna cut this side right here, I'm gonna cut it as close up here as I can so I have lots of wire to work with, just in case I need to replace it in the future. So it's a good tip, leave yourself a lot of wire if you can. That way you can cut like more than once. Alright, I got the new ends on here, ready to go on. I just used this kit, some Carlisle strippers. They're not the ones that you get in Vegas, but they work good. And then a lighter for the heat shrink, which honestly doesn't work as good as it says it does, but whatever. Okay, I got the new fuse holder in, and don't be like me and forget to take off the other part of the fuse holder. So that's in there now, because I'm not going to cut it off. Like I said, my mistakes are your mistakes. Actually, they're not. You wouldn't make the same mistake as me. Let's put a fuse in it, see if it works. I'm just using a 2 amp fuse because that's what the other fuse holder had in it. Ow. Let's hook up the battery, see if it works. Alright, the battery's hooked up. Let's plug it in this time. Kind of roughly lay this here. I think I hooked everything up. If this doesn't work, I'm gonna be so mad. Sweet, it works. I don't have to get mad. Like I said, there is a lot of extra wire. I'm just gonna tuck it up inside the case. That is probably more wire than you'll need, and I could clean it up. But for now, it's working and I'm happy. So I'm gonna put this back together. There is one more thing that I'm gonna replace on this, on the housing, that plastic housing. I'm going to replace these hex heads. The heck was that? Bird. With just these regular bolts. I believe they're 5mm, have an 8mm head. Because when you're out and your winch stops working and you need to get in that control box and you strip the heads off of these things, that's straight up a bad time. And I've been there before, and that's why I'm doing this. Got the control cover back on, replaced the bolts like I said. In my eyes, that's a must. Because I can't tell you how mad you can get when you can't get into a stupid little control box. You just want to break it open. This has been a pretty decent winch, but it has let me down probably 3 times. And every single time has been that wiring problem. So if you have this winch, I'm not saying it's a bad winch, but I would strongly recommend to just immediately change that fuse. If you live somewhere like I live in Washington, and it's always raining, it's always wet, so anything in there is going to corrode, even with a cover on it. I just recommend to change that. And those bolts, the housing bolts. Then you're set. Other than that, it's been a great winch. I even pulled a F-250 out of a ditch with it, with my little Jeep. But there you have it. That's pretty much it. All I can do now is just wait and see how it holds up, and maybe in the future I will let everyone know if I'm having the same problems. Because if I start having the same problems, I'm just going to get a different winch. Because I'm tired of that winch leaving me stranded because of a stupid little wire. Okay, bye.